What is going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kagas back with you, hopping on the live stream as we have a lot to get to. If you are just joining us for the first time and finding the channel for the first time, welcome. It's great to have you here. We're going to break through a lot. We'll talk about what this channel is all about. If you're finding us for the first time, we've been alive every now and then during hurricane season, and we're going to be doing more of these lives nightly or every other night and things like that when there's something going on and when there's nothing going on, just to kind of shoot the breeze about the weather. So super happy to have everybody here. Do me a favor, post in the comments where you're tuning in from. I can bring those comments over and we can have this conversation. That is one of the reasons why this channel is here, to kind of tune out some of the noise from everything going on social media, to talk about the science and meteorology behind things, and then just to have the conversation, because either you just want to know what the weather's doing or we're all nerds here. Either way, everybody is welcome. So thank you so much for being here. If you caught the earlier video that I posted about the storm system, nothing really has changed much. There's going to be a lot of bouncing back and forth over the next couple of days before before these different model runs come through. But the main thing is the pattern recognition. And what we have going on is we're going to break all that down. I'm just looking at the stream, making sure everything is healthy. Hey, Lori from Atlanta, welcome to the stream. The one big kind of, relatively speaking, breaking portion of this is that we do have the first winter storm watch of the event issued by the National Weather Service. And by the way, we are taking a live look courtesy of our friends at WeatherStem in Dallas tonight. And in Atlanta, Dallas, we are currently under that winter storm watch. Atlanta, we are likely going to be over the next day or so, as Dallas through Atlanta and the Northeast could be one of the hardest hit areas. And I mean, everybody is literally going to be one of the hardest hit areas across the Mid-South. It is crazy, just the expansive nature of this storm. And we're going to take a look at that through the course of the next 20, 30 minutes or so. This is taking you through the weekend. This is wild. Hey, Sarah, how's it going? Hope you're doing well tonight on the live stream. Appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. USA weather, love that for sure. And then Lori again coming back in Atlanta. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're taking a live look at Atlanta. What's going on? Good to see you again. Hanging out on the stream this evening. Okay, so let's get to it. Really, really high impact storm. There is zero question about that. The only question here is specifics. So right now in this stage of the game, I don't have specifics for how much snow or ice you're going to get in your general town. We will fine tune that for sure. What we do have and what we do know right now at this stage of the game is that we have a super high impact winter storm, maybe the highest impact winter storm we've had in years. I mean, just looking at this snapshot from Sunday morning, this is 3 o'clock in the morning. Look at all the ice going back to the Rio Grande, through Dallas, through Atlanta. Meanwhile, that stripe of dark blue, that very heavy snowfall coming from New Mexico, through Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, back to Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, North Carolina. It's wild. This is all at the same time. We'll talk about why this is. It's something known as overrunning. And that's going to be the big deal in the term that if you watch this channel, if you follow us along, and if you subscribe, shameless plug, we're going to talk about the science and meteorology by this. We literally have warm air being thrown up over a big dome of Arctic air. And even if you're not getting a ton of snow like Minnesota and the Dakotas, I still have you covered later on in this live stream and in the current video. So this is going to be Sunday. It's still cranking. And then this is going to be Monday as it lifts into the Northeast. There's still some question, okay, does it ride all the way up through Maine or does it slide off on the coast of Boston? Either way, it's going to be wild. Okay, so what I'm about to show you now, this is going to be the latest European snowfall data. I just want to kind of give you an idea of what we're up against. I want to preface this by saying the axis of heavy snow is going to change. We're likely going to see this bounce north to south a little bit, but the kind of footprint of this storm is going to be there. So this is the afternoon run of the European model, and there it is. I think in that pink area, is no doubt double-digit snowfall totals. You see that in Nashville, and that would extend maybe north of Little Rock, southeast of Oklahoma City, certainly Roanoke, Virginia, into Richmond. And then that would extend, I have the Northeast kind of covered here, but that purple color is 6 inches, and that would be through New Jersey, maybe 2 to 4 up toward Boston. And again, all of that part, the secondary part of that, that's going to be the harder thing to forecast. But that, and again, if you're watching Oklahoma City or Atlanta or Roanoke, again, that this kind of axis again of heavy snow is going to change. Okay. I want to be clear about that. And it's not because we don't know exactly. I mean, we don't know exactly. We know how the storm is going to come together. It's just, okay, the little nuances of how far north the warm air surges, how far south the cold air comes down from the Arctic, and then where that icy battle zone is going to be. If we end up realizing numbers like this, to put it into perspective, anywhere from a quarter of an inch to an inch to a half inch of ice, that's when you start talking about, especially as you push a half inch of ice and more, that's when you start having issues with maybe some power outages. You have some tree limbs, the weaker ones, coming down a little bit. So we want to avoid the half. I mean, we want to avoid all of it. Ice is just terrible all the way around. It's not, I mean, I guess it is pretty if it's encasing, but you can't do anything with it. Snow, of course, in the south, if you're going to get it, you want the snow versus the ice. Obviously, snow is also bad and high impact, especially in the south. Couple of things here. This is what I want to show you, and then we're going to look at we're going to get into some of the other models, and I want to show you the ensembles. If you've been hanging with me since hurricane season and the last few hurricane season, we always preach at this stage in the game ensembles. You know what? We're going to come back. This is the cold portion. This is like a 3-part storm, but I do want to show you the ensembles first, actually. All right, well, first of all, this is the crazy GFS run. I don't know if we're going to crank out 30 inches of snow in the Carolinas and in Southern Virginia. It's going wild. I don't know. I don't know that much. There's going to be a lot of snow. I don't know if we get that much snow there. But that footprint on the GFS remains the same. This tells the story. This is the European ensemble, and I have this parameter set for the probability for 6 inches of snow to fall. I can consider that a plowable snow. That's the most of us at the winter storm warning criteria. The further south, it's more like 3 inches. But this is the 6-inch benchmark. When we start talking about this, I mean, this is the area that we would be most concerned or excited for, depending upon your outlook. 6 inches of snow. So that's going to be like Oklahoma City, just to the north of Little Rock. Nashville, we're right on that line. Kentucky gets slammed here. Virginia gets slammed. West Virginia gets slammed. Now, the one thing, and this is going to be the homework assignment here over the next couple of days, is we're going to watch where this comes from. I love this comment here from Nikki. She says, need Mother Nature to keep her warm nose out of it so we can get all snow. And we're going to talk about that warm nose coming up, because this is what is going to become problematic for a lot of us in the South, is that warm nose. And Annabot's concerned. I said concerned or excited before she said concerned. She mentioned 1996 over again for sure. Savannah Island, near Savannah, welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in to the channel tonight, to the live stream. We're going to be doing these a lot this week and a lot going forward as well. So if you happen to like the weather, if you happen to be finding this informative or enjoying the content, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it, as we can hang out and talk weather together. And we always love getting your weather reports, whether it's sunny, whether it's stormy, because that helps give ground truth to what we're kind of sharing with everybody else. So that is a big time footprint across the Mid-South and Mid-Atlantic. This is the super concerning part. So this is the European ensemble. Now, remember what ensembles are. And I hope I don't put anybody to sleep, but I want you guys to know what ensembles are if you've never heard of them before. So what ensembles are, there are 51 members in the European ensemble, which we are looking at right now. When we don't have a ton of data, or when we're relatively far out from an event, to get an idea of what the event can produce, there are different initial conditions put into each one of the members. Think of it like the band ensemble. You got the trumpets, you got the clarinets, the flutes, whatever, saxophones. They all make up the ensemble. So there's 51 different members, 51 different initial conditions put in. Whenever the ensemble mean comes together and throws out numbers like this, it's concerning because that means even with different initial conditions, maybe the air is drier over here. Maybe the air is a little more moist. Maybe the warm nose surges further north. Maybe the cold air gets further south. What have you. All of that is to take some of the uncertainty out. We're talking about the ensemble mean showing, I got to change the color because that's pink, but like in this dark pink zone, 3/4 of an inch to an inch of ice. That is crippling. And for those that have been hanging out with me for a while, and I keep on saying that because we have a lot of loyal subscribers and there might be some new ones tuning in. Let me know if you are just finding the channel for a first time. I'd love to give you a shout out. I put in the title today in the video that I did earlier this afternoon, Crippling. I hate height. That's why this channel is here. I hate it. It makes my blood boil. You do not understand when I see these crazy thumbnails and these crazy words. You will come to know that if you hang out with us a little more often. A half inch, 3/4 of an inch of ice, crippling. When you're talking about an inch or two, I mean, that's going to shut things down, especially with the cold air that is coming in behind this, and all that stuff. From Texas. I mean, that's a good idea. I think that could be something. Why can't we have power lines that emit enough heat to melt the ice? Kind of like put something on the back there, like on your car rear view. See here, Nikki says possibly ice on top of extremely cold temps can be dangerous combination. Please check on the elderly. That's another good thing. Frigid temperatures and the ice to maybe take out power. That's not the greatest thing. Shout out to Joy. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. First time on the channel. Appreciate you. Welcome as well. I appreciate that. Ronaldo, my friend, says it looks crippling. Chester County, PA. Love it. Bluffton, South Carolina. Yeah. And hopefully you're going to stay on the rainy side of that than on the ice, because again, that looks to be one of the worst parts. Again, if you are in that area. Oh, nice. Thank you, Nikki, for subscribing from Mississippi. I appreciate that. Thank you guys a ton for hanging out with me tonight. We're just kind of shooting the breeze here about this. I mean, all things being equal, this is no doubt going to be a high impact ice event. Again, we're taking a live look tonight, courtesy of our friends at WeatherStem in Dallas, where a new winter storm watch has been issued. If you are just tuning in, that is the winter storm watch, and that will no doubt expand tonight into tomorrow as we get things going. It likely expand west and east going forward. And then that includes Little Rock, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Waco, Dallas, of course, where we're taking that live look. Hey, Weather Roamer, what's going up? What's going up? What's going on? Not enough coffee tonight, although I've got it right here. The other part, and if a couple of you guys have already mentioned this, is it's not just about the ice here. It's not just about the snow. Look at the temperatures that come in behind it. So we're talking 23 degrees below zero. That's on Thursday. Okay. And I mean, now down in Memphis, it's at 36. Dallas is at 46. Look at that in International Falls, Minnesota. 30 degrees below zero. That's the temperature that you're going to wake up to on Friday. The one thing that I want to point out, look at the kind of the gradient, the change in the temperature here over the distance. It's 17 below in Sioux Falls, but in Houston, it's still 61. So I mentioned before about overrunning. And while I'm going to go back on the other computer screen again, because I'm going to bust out my John Madden telestration. I'm going to bust that out. Sorry, I'll talk closer to the mic. What overrunning is, see how warm it is down across the North Gulf Coast? And this is why we know a high impact storm's coming. It's not like, okay, we have to wait for a couple of pieces of upper level energy to come together like we do in the Northeast a lot of times. What we have going on here, there's the warmth, and then here's the Arctic cold. So at the same pressure, warm air is less dense than cold air. That's why if you're trying to escape a fire, you stay low because warm air rises, okay? As we have this big blast of Arctic air coming down, let me take this out a little further. There we go. That's more like it. Look at that. I mean, look how cold it is up there. 29, 25. This is like the freezing line right there through northwest Alabama, northwest Mississippi. As that colder air is coming down at the surface, we also have this warmer air surging up from the Gulf in the deep, deep south, the Gulf Coast. So what happens is as that warmer air runs into the cooler air, it gets lifted because the colder air is dense. You have this very shallow layer of cold at the surface. The warmer air gets lifted as air rises, it cools, condenses, it forms clouds, and then it forms precipitation. Well, even though it may be above freezing above the surface because now we have that warmer air rising, at the surface, it's still below freezing, and then what would be snow melts into liquid and then freezes on contact with everything. So that is why in here, that poorly drawn squiggly line, we're going to have that icy battleground. What we have to figure out over the next, 24 to 72 hours prior to Friday, especially Saturday, is where that battleground is. Is it right here? Is it a little further south? Is it a little further north? And that's what we are going to find. That's what we are going to fine tune. Florida is going to be a very nice place to be this weekend. It's one of the only spots that are going to escape the big stuff. Let me show you. Let me take this out further. We were talking about the temperatures. I mean, if we have power outages, this is Saturday night. And I'll have it loaded in bigger. But that's teens. That's 14 in Shreveport, 17 in Shreveport. Right down in there. The one thing I will say about this, and Mr. Weiser69 says, oh gosh, you come up to Canada, that's nothing. Even in Canada, an inch of ice is something. I don't care how hardy you are. An inch of ice is bad news. Maybe the cold is a different story, but you've got the equipment to kind of combat that stuff. But an inch of ice is bad news no matter if you're Santa Claus in the North Pole or Siberia or in the Deep South. Ice is bad news no matter how you slice it. So it's not the best. What's going on, Finn's Flash Weather? That's awesome stuff that you've got a channel as well. Love that. Dallas 214 says the last ice storm in Dallas saw power flashes all over the neighborhood. And I mean, that is what obviously we're going to try to avoid. We want to avoid that. But when you're looking at, I mean, to me, this is that's a crazy, crazy signal. And Weather Roamer's talking the same thing again. Again, ice is just the worst, no matter where you're tuning in from. Again, it could be love the battle between Canada here and in Tennessee. I mean, agree with that. Come down to Tennessee and see how you handle 105-degree summers. We're all accustomed to different temperatures. And spot on for sure. I mean, it's all relative. It is all relative. All right. And Mikey Watley says, sorry if I pronounced that. Watley. I don't want snow. I don't want ice. Please snow in western North Carolina. Let's take a look at the Carolinas. And right now, anyway, the mountains look okay. And again, we're looking for that color. Let me go back to the latest because we have a few extra people joining now. This is wild. Wrong weather computer, sorry. Got a bunch of different sources in the room, in the stream room here. This is Sunday morning. And I mean, it's going to be, for weather nerds, for sure, this is going to be something to marvel at, looking at it from a radar perspective, satellite perspective, just how expansive it is. I mean, from Albuquerque, I need an A name in the East. Albuquerque to Asheville. We're talking about this expansion of snow. Dallas through Atlanta, it looks mostly ice, then some snow on the back end there. There's North Carolina, a lot of it in pink. Again, this battleground is going to change. I want to continue to reiterate that. And then the heavy snow falling from Arkansas to Oklahoma City, back to Lexington, Kentucky, Roanoke, Virginia, maybe getting into West Virginia, Pennsylvania. It's wild. No doubt about that. I mean, it's an already just like a preemptive strike here to all the linemen and line women out there. Thank you for what you do, because unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be one of those. There you go, Albuquerque to Annapolis. I like that one better. I like that one better because it gets a little further east. Thank you for that. But anyway, the linemen and women that are going to be probably stationed preemptively to combat the power outages, because it is going to get really, really cold. And that's something that we're going to highlight over the next, gosh, today's what, Tuesday? This starts Friday afternoon, evening, and then ramps up over the weekend. And we're still going to be talking about this Monday into Tuesday. So question about Woodlands. Woodlands, Texas, just north of Houston. Right now, it's on the battleground. So there you go. Sunday, we'll go right in there. There's the pink that's popping up. So the Woodlands there could get a little bit of ice. I mean, good question here. From my friend 16 Medic RN, would you call this an emergency for low income and the elderly? Would you expect emergency shelters? I would call this an emergency for anybody, but certainly for the most vulnerable, for sure. Because again, I think in what I see this turning into is, okay, the ice brings down some power lines, and then we have the cold coming in after. So now we have an extended power outage with the cold. And it's not just like borderline cold. We're talking teens potentially as far south, all that stuff. Yes, I used to work in Roanoke. I used to work at that station in Roanoke. So if anybody tuning in from Roanoke, information on the storm on the news side of things, that's going to be WSLS. That's going to be your station of choice. And also KPRC in Houston. They are great. They're the best in the Houston market at forecasting the weather. So tune in to them as well. And if you're finding us for the first time, let us know. Post in the comments if you're a first-time watcher. If you are finding this content helpful, do me a favor, hit subscribe or hit that thumbs up. Maybe you need a little more time to subscribe. I get it. But if you like talking about the weather without the noise and without the garbage that's out there, and there is a lot of it, would love to have you on board and to join the team and hit that subscribe button. Mayfield, Kentucky could be, I mean, right now it is looking like, let me pull up the ensemble because, again, while I mean, I can show you what the model shows for snowfall, But I mean, still, that is going to change. But kind of like right smack dab, and let me get my, sometimes this might be on the harder side to see. Get out my telestrator. There's Kentucky. Mayfield, what, right about in there, give or take. That is a 70% shot, 70 to 80% shot for greater than 6 inches of snow. Wild stuff. I'll show you. And then this is going to be the nuance because Abilene, Texas. Let's go back to Texas because this is where it all gets started. So, ice is going to be an issue Saturday into Sunday, probably Friday. Let me back this train up a little bit. Yeah, so we start getting ice late Friday night into early Saturday morning for sure in Abilene. And then that pushes east again. That even closes in on Houston, as we talked about. This is going to be one of the things I think we're going to get. I do think Houston, at least, here's a close up of Houston. Thanks for that. I appreciate you hopping on board. Sorry, I'm showing you the maps, and I forgot to switch my source over. My bad about that. But here's the close-up of Houston again. We just took a look at Abilene. It does show a little bit of a wintry mix. I think the one saving grace, and again, we're going to have to see how warm it gets. It is going to be pretty warm over the next couple of days, which will help keep the surface of things above freezing for longer, which would help the freezing rain threat in and around Houston. The model trends have gone a little north, just a little north. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna play this run out. This is the 18Z run, so this is the early afternoon run. I'm gonna show you. This is the European model, by the way, so I'll show you the trend. So let me just change my time here and go back to the morning run. See, it's a little bit further to the south at 12 versus 18. So there's the shift. The one thing is the dome of cold Arctic air that is spilling in behind this, it's really going to prevent it from like shifting way too far to the north, I think, because it means this dome of Arctic air. This is, so you always hear about the polar vortex. And again, polar vortex is something that's always there. It's one of my biggest pet peeves, that it's kind of used as like the abominable snowman pretty much. And it's like, oh my gosh, we have the polar vortex. It's always there. It sits at the poles and it's a counterclockwise area of low pressure. Sometimes in the stratosphere, it can get disrupted and then it breaks apart a little bit and it kind of sends cold shots back down into the lower 48. That's what's happening here. So it's not like the polar vortex is coming to visit us or anything like that. But you clearly see here this counterclockwise spin up there by the Hudson Bay, and this just straight connection back into Western Canada. This big ridge up here towards Alaska. I mean, this is going to be pure Arctic air spilling in on the northern periphery of this thing, and it just continues to churn out. And this is exactly what we're talking about. You see how it kind of gets squished a little bit, how the pink color kind of gets flattened from about DC back to St. Louis to LA. And then we have some yellows surging to Dallas, Houston, and Mobile. That is exactly why we have the battleground and why we were looking at the big time ice storm. That's what we call overrunning, when the warm air overruns the very dense cold air at the surface. So you're going to likely hear me say that a ton if you subscribe and stick around. Let me show you. Let me take this out further. So this is Friday. Let me go to Saturday. And then this is what I'm talking about. the cold coming in. Dallas, we're talking 20. And look at that. Look at the low temperature in International Falls. That's 38 degrees below zero. And then there's the cold again. This is what I'd be most concerned with. Sunday, now we're waking up to teens in Dallas, and then single digits to around 10 in Dallas. This is the cold air that's going to follow. So if we don't have power, and that's going to be a real threat across where we get the ice, that's where I'd be most concerned. It's the frigid air coming in behind it. We're still doing okay in Orlando. And then we cool down a little bit. Miami's kind of escaping it. They need a win after last night. Sorry about that. All right, let me back the train up again. So, brutal Arctic air. Central Virginia, looks like you are getting it. West Virginia, so let's go. And this is the good point. I'm going to wait till your comment loads. Old Jack Wolf. This is a good point, and this is the one thing that we're going to watch. And we were just talking about that for Houston. The high soil temperatures in the most southern areas hold back the ice somewhat. That is my hope, because in order to get freezing rain, which causes the ice accretion, you obviously need to have something below freezing. Again, it falls down into a cold layer of right at the surface, and then it freezes on contact. So here's the deal, and this is kind of the perfect breakdown of what we're looking at. So we're looking kind of like an atmospheric cross section, like the atmosphere is a giant cake and it's made of layers. So for snow to fall, like what we'll see across probably North Texas, Oklahoma, through Virginia, and then north, the column of air pretty much is all below freezing. So from the cloud to the surface, we have a nice, pretty snowflake. To get sleet, and we'll see some sleet as the changeover happens, there's a little sliver of warmer air. And again, all that blue that you see on the screen there, that's the dome of colder air that is going to be sticking around at the surface. The warmer air, as we talked about, is less dense, so it goes up and over that cold air, or the blue here in this picture. So to get freezing rain, which is going to cause a lot of the ice, it's still cold enough above that warm sliver of air to start out as a snowflake, and then it falls through that warm layer that's a couple thousand feet deep. The snowflake turns into a raindrop. There's not enough cold air to make it refreeze into a sleet pellet or an ice pellet. And then anything that is below freezing at the surface, so like your car window, power lines, trees, the ground, sidewalks, roads, what have you, that raindrop will then freeze on contact, and that's how we get freezing rain. And then, of course, rain, you're above freezing from a very, very deep warm layer all the way to the surface. So that's going to be the thing. And talking about the conditions in Arkansas, when we get that stuff, horrendous conditions when it comes to winter weather. You can't even drive. Live in North Little Rock. Shout out. Good to see you. Good to meet you on the channel tonight. Thanks so much for being here. But yeah, anyway, the high soil, we're hopeful anyway across the deep south that we can warm things up the next couple of days to really get things going. Appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the live stream. Good to talk to you tonight. Subscribe from Eastern West Virginia. Let's pull out the future radar again, and let's take a look at that. So we're going to go back to the timeline if we have anybody new joining. So this is Sunday at 3 o'clock in the morning, and on the east side of West Virginia, for sure, there's the heavy snow really starting to spread. And then as we take that forward, I mean, you're in the thick of it in eastern West Virginia for sure. And then that continues to lift up and then turns into a nor'easter. I think I had that question before, by the way, and it's still expected to kind of turn into a nor'easter and then lift off the coast of Nova Scotia. Bristol, Tennessee is going to be one of the harder parts because you might start that changeover. So this is the latest model. This is not my forecast yet. I will work on that. But Bristol's going to be right on the cusp there of some snow or ice. I will expect it to move a little bit. That pink area, that's going to be 9+ inches of snow, that pink area. I'm expecting it to waver a little bit. So that's going to be the interesting thing to watch. We know there's going to be a high impact storm. It's who gets the highest snow totals and the highest ice totals. That's going to be the deal here. And right now, I don't have that answer. But we do know the areas that need to be watching. Central Jersey, you're going to have the opportunity for 6 to maybe 8 inches of snow. That purple area is 6 to 8 inches. And then Boston, maybe 3 to 6 inches of snow. So, and there's still a little bit of a question in the Northeast. And this is going to be Monday into Tuesday, by the way. So I think, need to extend the timeline out. I only have this going through Monday. So let me take this out through Tuesday because that's going to change some things. And we might get a little bit more. It still has it about 3 to 6. All right, so Weather Roamer's asking about the ensembles for the foothills of Southwest North Carolina. So let's go back to our ensemble map. And right now, I mean, this is through, so I'll lower the total. This is for greater than 6 inches of snow. Really, anything, that means 40% of the ensembles here, right in this color. That means greater than 40% of the ensembles are suggesting more than 6 inches of snow. So let me lower the threshold. That's going to be for the percentage for 1 inch of snow, and that's for 3 inches of snow. So, I mean, it is very, very high. I mean, we're going to be doing some shoveling, like all up and through. I mean, it's going to be, I mean, again, I don't, like I told you before at the beginning, if you're finding us for the first time, first of all, welcome. If you're finding this content helpful, it'd be awesome if you hit that subscribe button and hang out with us more often. We do these live streams, and we're going to start to do more of these live streams just to BS about the weather. I'm Jonathan, by the way, certified meteorologist, so not just one of those the hype trains on social media for clicks. Actually, like to give a little bit of context with what's going on. So thanks a ton for being here. Kids are already looking for some extra days off school in North Mississippi. Love that. Western New York outside of Buffalo. Now, you guys are going to get some of the lake effect stuff over the next couple of days. So you guys are still going to be dealing with that. I think this is going to be pushing too far off to the south and east to kind of give you that area. I believe I have that snowfall map. This is what you're going to be dealing with tomorrow anyway. Kind of through. And you're in that 2 to 4 inch range right around Buffalo. Sorry, my Jetstream text is blocking that, but there is a stripe of isolated 6 as we keep that colder wind over the relatively warmer Lake Erie there. Excuse me. So you guys are going to still be dealing with that. I don't think there's much in the way of anything with this system that's rolling through the south. It will. And that's important to note. And I do hate that cop-out. Believe me, I am not one to be like, that's why, like, I don't post every single model run and I'm gonna be like, okay, now we have this. Now we have 20 inches here. Now we have a foot here. Now it's shifted 40 miles north here. It's not how I roll. You got to start with the pattern recognition. We know that there is a storm coming. We know that. It's not going to peter out like a lot of nor'easters do. It's not going to do that because it's literally just warmer air being forced up over colder air. That's what we have. We have the battleground going on, and that is what's going to create the winter storm that's literally going to be snowing and icing all the way through it. I would love to come. I do love shoveling snow. I am a fan. I do like it. Although I live in Florida. So don't really have to shovel much. Although the Panhandle got a nice treat. We were talking about that last week. We would likely get all that stuff. And that's another good point by Nikki here. She says, and I'm not expecting that either. I'm not, because it's literally a squeeze play because the colder air is going to squash everything and the warmer air is going to come in to do that. Hey, what's going on, Randall? First time from North Carolina. Hope you are well tonight. Still too early to tell, but Virginia looks like it is it. That looks like one of the highest opportunities for snow. I used to live and work in Southwest Virginia in that market. So if you don't watch WSLS already in Southwest Virginia, they covered Danville. Chief Meteorologist Jeff Hanowich, he's my good friend there. So tune in for him for his latest forecast. But this is nice right here. That is pretty much. There might be a little bit sneaking up into Danville. Might be a little bit of a changeover. And then it kind of forces and then peters out. So again, the main question is where that heaviest band of snow settles through. For those just joining us, first of all, welcome. This is the craziest thing, in my opinion. This is the ice component. So there is even, I don't know. See, the ice is even putting in 1/4 of an inch. And what this is, it's probably looking at the mountaintops here. That 0.42, although Roanoke's really not in the mountaintop. That is a lot. That is a lot of stuff right there. A lot of ice. And again, that's the ensemble mean. Let me just see what the straight up Euro. Yeah. So that would be nuts. So this is, that's crazy. So this is the straight up Euro. So I was showing you the ensemble mean. It's spitting out like 2 inches of ice right here, near 3 inches outside of Atlanta. I don't know that happens. That's a lot. So I don't know that happens, but it tells the story again that we're going to be in for something potentially significant. I mean, I think I used the word crippling in the title of the video today, and I truly believe that. I would not say it if I didn't think that. Central Louisiana, yeah. So okay, here's the thing about the weather apps. So and this is for everybody tuning in, and you guys may know this already. What the weather apps do, like your stock Google app, your stock Apple app, it's using the American GFS raw data. So however the GFS data changes with time, that is what it's going to show up on your app. So like tomorrow it could show 2 inches. Central Louisiana, it's going to be tight. I think you are more in the ice zone versus the snow zone. And in fact, you're not even in the greater than 6 inch zone. That's 3 inches right there. That's the greater than 3 inch zone. Getting anywhere close to central Louisiana. So that's definitely some bad data. Let me just check out. Let me see what the GFS is saying. That's the temperatures. Let me go back. Check this out in real time. Yeah, so like the latest GFS doesn't even have any snow. I mean, that's crazy numbers right there. So yeah. So John's asking, is it trending? I would say it was a windshield wiper north. So it's kind of too early to say if we're trending one way or another. We want to see that for a couple of runs, and it's still a little too far out. But it did jog a little bit north, but they're going to do that. Call it the windshield wiper effect. They're going to go back and forth. So it's important not to react one way or another. Middle Missouri, shout out to you guys in mid Missouri. let's go back to the European ensembles to just kind of take a look here. And let me see. I'm going to change that back to the 6 inches. It looks like, and again, here's the core. Let me map this out. Here's obviously Missouri right through here. I know some of the lines are hard to see on this computer when I change it over. So I use the little telestrator over there. That's kind of the footprint of the 6 Plus. I personally think we're going to see it probably trend a little further back to the south. I don't know if we're going to see a northward trend continue. That Arctic air is very, very dense. Fayetteville, North Carolina, I think gets a little bit of both. So here, I don't think it's a ton of snow unless we start to see it come way farther south again. This is the opportunity for an inch of snow, really right through there, the higher probabilities. So like the northern half of North Carolina. Is really what we're going to be dealing with. North Central PA. Let's take a look. And depending upon what part, again, and it's still, I think, again, it's going to come a little bit further to the south. And like, I'm one of those people too that will stay up late. So I'll try to post those models tonight as they come in. To see if we're starting to get a trend and all that stuff. That's what we're going to be watching. Hey, what's up, Andrew in Houston? Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm a big Steeler fan, by the way. So, I mean, I guess we're both out of it now, but I knew we weren't going to go far. We never do. It's always one and done. But anyway, the totals I don't think are too impressive for northern Pennsylvania. We need that to start to trend a little bit further to the north, which it's possible. Or if the cold air kind of comes in a little bit from the northwest to southeast and it bends a little bit, let me take you back to the future cast and let me show you what I'm talking about. So the darkest of the blue here, that's not too bad. If it follows this, what you would need for 6 to 12 inches of snow, something like that. Oh, sorry. Did it again. Just yell at me if I don't change the computer back. You want this, if you want the snow in the northeast, you want this guy to crank. And you can kind of see that spin there off the coast. This is as kind of the battle between the cold air and warm air. Eventually, it starts to create an area of low pressure, and then that's the nor'easter that takes over and blasts part of the coast. So you'd want that to kind of ride up a little bit more closer to Long Island, Nantucket, rather than go out to sea like it's doing right there. Gosh, that's a great question. Depending on if you're in the area that gets north of an inch of ice and we get those temperatures that are in the single digits and teens in the south, which is looking very likely, it'll probably be a lot worse than that because there's just not a lot of salt trucks to get that stuff done, and then the power might be out for an extended period of time. That's the part that I'm most concerned about. Again, we can deal with the snow. The snow is, I mean, some people like the snow, of course. If you like the snow, it's going to be fun. Traveling, of course, is not fun for anybody. But that's going to be the deal, and it's going to be the frigid temperatures that really pop in behind it that are going to change all that. So, I mean, if this comes into fruition like that, where you see this deep dark pink, where you're getting, I mean, some places 3/4 of an inch, 2 inches. That's crazy. And that's another good point. Nikki had MVP tonight, one of the MVPs of the chat. The rain makes the brine less effective. So if there was anything that you're going to put down before it kind of changes over, the rain's going to wash it off anyway. You got it, John. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. Louisville, Kentucky. All right. So it's still too early to make like a definite forecast, but as it appears right now, you are in kind of the main event of the heavy snow. I am expecting this to shift a little bit further to the south. So if it does do that, it'll take you out a little bit of the snow. Nonetheless, I think you have a pretty decent snowstorm coming to Louisville. For Williamsport, that's an interesting one. It's all going to depend on, it looks like most of it's going to pass safely off. So this purple color here is 6 inches of snow. The blue color is about 3 to 6 inches. So Williamsport would be in that 3 to 6 inch. I think that's a pretty good bet for Williamsport right now. We would have to see that start to push about 50 to maybe 75 miles further to the north to start getting into the 6+ range in Williamsport. So that's what we're going to be watching for. That's a great comment. Nothing better than watching all this from South Florida. So got a question about Palestine, Texas. I think you're officially you are officially in the winter storm watch. You were right on the line. You're close to not being in it. But let's take a look at that for Palestine. I have a question about Palestine, Texas on here. And there it is. Let me get closer in so I can get your town to pop back up. It's in there somewhere north of the Woodlands. There's the freezing rain that comes through. A lot of freezing rain that comes through. And then maybe a flake or two on the back end of it. In my personal opinion, I think it does. I think it does push a little bit further to the south again. I think that round of Arctic air is just so strong and so dense that it is going to try to force it, and it's kind of squeezing between the warmer air lifting up and over. That's so we'll see what happens. I mean, this next run, we should get it at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, probably like 2 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. But we'll see what happens with that. For Mississippi, let me pull up the ice map again. Let me go back to the ensemble. I like to use that more. That's why there's a wider spread here on this map. You're probably going to get at least a tenth of an inch of ice in central Mississippi, maybe as much as a quarter. Again, if it starts to trend back down again, we're going to be in it. Yeah, no, this is what always comes to mind when we're talking about the extended cold. It could, and I can't remember if we had the ice coming in before. I think it was just a lot of cold, and then ERCOT couldn't keep up, and then the power went out, and then pipes are bursting all over the place. It's gonna be cold for an extended period of time. I hope not, but it could be a situation like that. I don't know that it lasts 8 to 9 days. The cold, I don't think it does. It's probably about half of that. But nonetheless, it's something that, obviously we have to watch. It is going to get very, very cold for about 3 or 4 days. Um, DDP247 says there are also some models showing it trending north. I'm sure we'll have more accurate models the next day or two. The high pressure is going to dictate everything. 100% right about that. And that's why I think the northward trending models are going to maybe shove back south a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the evening model runs. By the way, the models you see in the afternoon that come through, I think I just froze. Literally, we're talking about ice, and I froze up. At least the picture froze up. If you can still hear me, let me know. But anyway, so we're watching that going forward. You have an opportunity to be pretty cooked in Dallas, for sure. It looks a little rough. There's a lot of ice, a little bit of snow in there. Still watching that completely. Alrighty, guys. Hey, I want to thank you for tuning in this evening and watching the live stream. I don't know why my my face is just frozen there. I swear I'm making a different face than that. Southeast PA. Okay, sweet. I don't know why the video froze because it's working on the camera. But anyway, thank you guys. My face isn't important. Just in making that dumb looking face. Philadelphia is in an interesting spot. I think you could in the Southeast PA. I think you could see a little bit of snow. I mean, into that 3 to 6, maybe 6+ range, depending upon if it works its way out into that northeaster and kind of curls up the northeast coast a little bit. Mobile's probably a little too far south. I think you're gonna be on the warmer side than that. Hey, thank you guys a ton for tuning in. I know you can't see me. I'm just making that dumb face right now, but I really appreciate you hanging out with me tonight. We're gonna do multiple of these live streams during the week, and we're going to have much more weather data to show. I'm going to load a bunch of stuff up in our fancy graphic system over the next couple of days, and we are going to break that down for you and give you the best possible forecast that we can for the Deep South, the Mid South, the Northeast, wherever you might be tuning in from. If you're finding us for the first time, I appreciate you tuning in. If you found this channel helpful, maybe give it a thumbs up. It does help us out a lot. And if you want to join the team and kind of just shoot the breeze about the weather, more often than not, in these live streams, in the chat, on the videos, would love to have you on board. I'm a big weather nerd. I hope you guys are too. And we can have that weather conversation. That's why this channel is here. It's to combat some of the noise, the misinformation, some of the crazy hype out there, and just a place to talk about the science and the meteorology stuff. So I really appreciate you tuning in tonight. Thank you a ton for being here. And again, next video comes out tomorrow. We are going to have the latest, of course, on that. So if you're interested in that, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate you guys. We'll catch you very, very soon, certainly in the chat with the live stream coming up over the next couple of days and through the end of this work week. Thanks so much for being here, guys. I'll catch you soon.